Adventures of an Empath. I just had the most amazing, tantalizing experience encountering another empath. I think empaths know that when we're in each other's space, we almost immediately know it. And so one of the things that I was able to do today, and I'll have to be a little bit vague about it because this did involve a student, so I won't be using any particulars about the student because that's really not the important part of the story. Safe to say that this was a student, and so a teaching opportunity, and therefore a person younger than me and less experienced, particularly when it comes to being an empath. So, in that respect, this is what happened. I shared with this person some lessons that I had learned from other empaths. And it was amazing because every time I've been in that person's space, and in particular during today's activity where the young person was being assessed and had to make a presentation, it was amazing to see how she immediately tapped into her emotional empathic power. The topic that she talked about involved how she felt, how she dealt with this feeling and negotiated the ideas that this feeling gave her in the practical work life that she had, which was the topic of the thing, how she used in her emotional intelligence to negotiate and advocate for her project idea and got others involved, how she saw this in the wider public as a range of stakeholders who could be involved in this project, how she helped the project market itself and grow. And through all of this, she had this overwhelming ability to convey exactly what she wanted to say, and in such an empathic way that you could literally see, hear, taste, smell everything that she was talking about. And this is I say this is an empath superpower because you can imagine that as an empath, being in the space of someone who can do that, you don't have to prompt them, you don't have to, coax them, you don't have to kind of continually signal to them that the feelings and the different sensations that they experience in the storytelling, that it's okay. You don't have to, as I say, as an empath, you don't have to manage other people's feelings as we often have to do because we're often the more sensitive person and the more aware person in the room. And to the extent that we're often even more aware of other people's emotions, even before they've been revealed to themselves. So then when we can be with someone with whom we don't have to manage that for them, they can manage it themselves. And they're not only able to do that, but they're unafraid to be expressive about it. That is so amazing. I'm literally, as you can see, I'm getting goosebumps talking about it because as a student, and here's the part that I'm getting to, this is the advice that I had to share with this young person because she came with so much doubt. She wasn't feeling well. She's a bit disoriented in the course because she came a bit into the term, and so she could see that she had some vulnerabilities. And yet, once she started to perform, it was literally magic. And so my advice to her was not to doubt herself, to think back to all the times and experiences that she was just talking about, and remember how her ability to be sensitive to both the subject matter and the different needs of the people in the room is exactly what enabled her to push her project forward, and not just to push her own agenda forward, but to do so cooperatively, collaboratively. And that if she could take the confidence in that, and then something else that she said is to understand that when she is a bit overwhelmed, that she needs to have a mechanism to recharge because it actually happened. And she said, wait a minute, I need a moment to gather myself. And again, my advice to her that I received from another empath, shout out to I'll just call her our Grambling girl, our Grambling twirling state girl, an empath who gave this advice to me is to have the confidence to just say, I need a moment to gather myself. Let me do that. So she knows, and I've been giving her advice on being able to breathe mindfully. And so if you could have the confidence to just take that moment, even in real time, to say, hey, wait a minute, I think I'm losing my train of thought. I need to take a moment to gather my thoughts, et cetera, et cetera. Even have the confidence that your emotional agility in working yourself through that is far superior to what most other people are doing or thinking at that moment. And that is both the humility that empaths must learn, observe, cultivate, but also, again, the source of power that we must have. And the confidence that, yeah, it is even that same sensibility that can muscle us through the most arduous tasks, even in our sleep. So I told her, think about the situations where she and I had engaged in the classroom. Think about it. Read the room. Look at how much of a cakewalk it was for you, even when you felt disoriented and were new. Look at how easily you were able to engage with the subject matter. And I remember her literally saying the words, I'm not too sure about this subject and I haven't been here, but this is what I know. And she helped everyone think through her thinking process, which is literally exactly what we try to get students to do in every sort of classroom. I think about my geography class in seventh grade, show your work, and in the civics, in English classes, again, show your work. How did you arrive at the sentence construction? How did you arrive at these historical facts, these ideas? Just to being able to show how you emotionally and cognitively think through a situation, that's your superpower. And so, empath to empath, I say that we are always what I call learning. So even when we are there to teach, to present, or to listen, or to instruct, or to just observe, we know that there is something about the way that we are and the way that we can attune ourselves to those around us that we can turn any situation into both a comforting space, because it is very comforting to be in the space of an empath. And I assured this young person that it was very comfortable and engaging to listen to the story that she was telling, but equally that we can make that a space of learning. And that is what I think is most crucially powerful, that even when we have difficulty, division, and what an empath can do is to say that, wait a minute, everyone here is learning. Everyone here is learning about each other's perspective, why we disagree or see the situation and how to deal with it differently. She even said this in her examples. Now that I'm thinking about it, she said, I had to bring together all these different perspectives, and they were all emotionally attached to their solution and their perspective. And again, had we had more time to go through it, that's again the empath superpower, is to say, wait a minute, let's separate our emotional attachment to the subject and the solutions from what we know. So let's put it on the table. Let's put our emotions on the table so that we can actually think more rationally about it. This is such an amazing power that empaths have. And as a elder person now, I know that it is our responsibility to pass on knowledge. As I said, my Grambling State twirler passed this on to me. She probably learned it from another empath. And I'm just so excited that I got to pass those gems of knowledge on to another young empath who is finding her footing, and now pass that on to you, and for you to be able to see how this works in the classroom. Some things that I would have done better as a teacher, for example, during this session, as an empath, and particularly knowing that I was dealing with an empath, I probably would have done more to put the student at ease in the beginning, to let her know that despite the challenges that she was having, that we were confident that she would do well and that we weren't judging her based on, however she was feeling, that we appreciated that she wanted to step up to the game. As opposed to, for example, walking her through alternatives and feeling sorry and expressing sympathy. Oh, we feel so sad for you, and are you okay? That thing. And I think that's a good example of what's the difference between sympathy and empathy. Rather than just saying we feel so sorry for you and want to help you muscle, and if you really can't do it, we'll do this, this, and this. Rather than do that, I would have been more confident myself and into telling her those things that I told her afterwards. So what are your thoughts on how empathy shows up in the classroom? How have you experienced an actual empath in your team, in your team meetings, or even in the classroom? And what are some of the interesting stories that you have to tell about how empaths have both found their footing and you've learned from them? And what's been the impact on other students to see an empathic student, or to even experience the ways that empathic students and teachers can communicate in the classroom? What are your stories?